Hello and welcome to another episode of Natural Balance, where body, mind, and spirit connect. I'm your co-host, Mia Sines, and in this episode with me, I have Barry Selby. Now, I've known Barry as a coach for years, and I'm excited to bring him on because he talks about the feminine, authentic woman, the empowered woman, the divine feminine woman, like nobody's business. So when he talks about the divinity of woman, it's so beautiful and it makes us feel so safe that we finally have a man that is sharing this information with the world. So welcome, Barry. It's beautiful to have you here.
Oh, such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. And it's a joy to be serving and expressing through this avenue. So thank you.
You're welcome. So there's lots that I haven't told the audience yet about you, except for what I know and feel. So would you like to add a little bit of commentary there on your background, if you like, your bio type of thing?
Sure.
You can add what you want, and you don't have to add anything if you don't want. Have the mystique there.
Well, let's just put one thing on the front end so people know. Yes, I'm English. So the accent is anybody. Born and raised, but I've lived in Los Angeles in the United States for 36 years now. So it's been home for a long time. But I do sound...
We still hear your British accent, yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Lovely. And you're also a practitioner at the Agave, which is very, I think, it's the reason I mention that is because when we talk about the divine feminine, that's the natural graces of divinity. And so you understand it to a core of what it's all about. And yes. So I wanted to just add that as well, because
officially I'm an Agave licensed spiritual practitioner at the Agave International Spiritual Center, just to get the full handle, which is massive.
Right, it is massive. And those who are living a spiritual life right now, you've probably heard of Agave as a spiritual center in Los Angeles. So check it out. And anyway, so let's get back to this beautiful topic that we're on. Mm-hmm. When I first heard you talking about this, so I've known Barry for years. We have photos on Facebook going back many years when we'd run into each other in town and stuff. And so Barry, like me, started out as a relationship coach, but his genius is there too, but his genius is in understanding women and guiding them both in relationships and in the self-love acts, which when we talk and he shares his work, I'm blown away by it, that a man could actually get this. So what would you like to bring to the table first? This is a very relaxed conversation with information, everybody. So, and it's not just because I've known him for years that I'm so relaxed. It's just simply I want him to bring out what he feels first is most congruent for us to hear. Oh, I remember. I just wanted to say, when I first heard you talk about the divine feminine, it was in a Facebook Live post about, I think you've done 125.
Right now it's 165 so far.
Oh my Lord. So 165 days ago, I started paying attention to this because this is a different topic that he's talking about now than he was before. So it's a long time to be listening to all these 165 days. Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
You.
Yeah, and he does these daily. So you got to hop on. All right. So share with us what I was so excited about. I know you wanted to share something too, but what I was so excited for everybody to learn about is the empowered space that you allow women to feel. It's very safe. How did you get to that place? I mean, I know, but the audience will want to know.
Let me throw a few things in, because it may not make sense in some ways, but if I just give you some highlights, it might make more sense. And to be honest, the Facebook Live started really, and looking back, the timing was after the election. So that's what really started catapulting me into having to speak from a male, masculine-hearted voice to let women know that not all men are like that. Yes. And it's the topic right now, especially what's going on in the news and the media with politics, the entertainment industry, different people are being outed for being abusive for women, and it hurts my heart to hear this. So this talk, I hope, will do some healing, and also to remind women that some of us men actually do believe in women being empowered in safety and in respect. So we'll get to that. So my story, I guess the best way of describing it was I had a very rocky road and dysfunctional road in my relationships. I basically I've been in the personal growth industry since '84, so many years. I learned all about the heart and about personal growth and spirituality, and I would also keep messing up my relationships. 3 relationships in a row, I did the same thing, didn't know until afterwards, where I'd messed up the relationship. And I was sitting there basically kicking myself after the 3rd one, going, but I've got all these qualifications and this background and these seminars, yet I still can't do love right, it seems. And in 2007, I was introduced through, Spirit has a beautiful way of working in my life, that's all I can say. In 2007, Spirit put this gorgeous woman in front of me who I'd never met before, and normally in front of good-looking women, I get tongue-tied. Actually, back in 2007, now it's more comfortable because I now see the essence, I see beyond the appearance and see who they are. Back then, I saw this woman, and she was dazzling, and as far as I could tell, she was glowing. And so I said, okay, that was Spirit going, talk to this woman. So I did, and that led me to a seminar which taught me about the masculine and feminine polarity, a company out of Vancouver called Warrior Sage. The thing I want to speak to is that when I got back to LA after that retreat, I walked into Agave. It was a Wednesday night service in 2007, and I walked in the sanctuary just casually walking like normal, but I just got this visceral command to stop where I was and to scan the room. Usually I look around and see if they're my friends or anybody I'm looking for, or a spare seat, that sort of thing. But I scanned the room and I saw every single woman in that room as a goddess, as my sister, as a woman who I would be required by guidance to protect if something happened. And then all the men I saw, after I scanned back again, saw the men in the room, what came from my mind was like freaking me out, because going, that means every single man has to go through me to get to any one of those women. And I was like, does that really can happen? But the sense inside me was this sudden clarity, how I had not to that point understood women in their feminine leadership. The retreat was about masculine, feminine, power, strength, polarity, sexual chemistry, all these things that I didn't know before. And from that point forward, I've been passionate about this work and studying, learning, and sharing it, and seeing women through the lens of both spiritual and sacred authority in the feminine. And it's because a lot of my clients in coaching have been in their masculine because they've been driven in the world to do business like we do as men. They forget their feminine heart is stronger than that. So that's kind of where my secret weapon is, my true calling, helping women remember the feminine.
I love that. It's really beautiful because in that moment, you had this light bulb, this clarity, like you were in a different realm than anyone else in that room. Yeah. Those are beautiful, beautiful moments. Very, very powerful. And I'm grateful you had that. Wonderful. So it's so funny because I thought I was going to ask you, so was a woman you met in the seminar too? I thought you were going to say when you were scanning it, you all of a sudden there she was.
No, I mean, I met her previously. That's what got me to the seminar. She just got back from a retreat. And finally enough, she rarely goes to Agave. So it was one of those moments where Spirit said, let's make this happen. And it happened. So I've seen her since we've been friends. She lives quite a ways away, so we don't see each other very often. I saw her a couple of years ago. And I shared that story with her because I actually had never shared that story with her directly until like 5-6 years later. Lovely. And she just cracked up. She loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's beautiful. So what are some ways that women can feel safe around men or simply in their own skin from the guidance that you help support women in?
Let me think. And again, this is totally unscripted. So I don't have like a 5-key system. I'm not training you with these keys, but 2 things come up right away. One is that part of it is self-trust. So many women have been educated by the media, by society, by business schools, by their paradigm that to be in the world, you must act like the men, copy the men to be successful. And so when it comes to being around men, they're actually wearing a mask of masculinity, which the men can push through, which is why a lot of women become victims of that energy. They try to compete and bang heads, which they might succeed at, but often what happens is they don't have the fullness inside themselves yet, and I'll get to that in a moment. So they basically collapse under the pressure from the men, and that's a lot why women get hurt by men. Second part, which is filling this in, is a lot of women have never discovered they actually have a feminine core. Their essence, their expression is feminine. And because most women have been trained that being female is weaker, you know, the weaker sex, the fairer sex, your better half, that all these different things imply less than wholeness. And women, when you're in your feminine, you actually tap into the true power of nature itself. You know, the power of life force, energy, which, to be honest, would scare most men out of their boots because it's more powerful than we are.
We do scare men out of their boots all the time. I can't tell you how many men when I was dating, they'd be just so enamored with me, and then bam, they'd run like hell. And it's a crazy thing, and there are many women out there who experience that. Let's talk about that, because that is really important for women to understand. They don't realize why men disappear. Oftentimes they disappear because they're intimidated by a woman. They're still in their little boy, I guess, and they're intimidated by a woman.
Yeah, there are a lot of boy men out there, or man boys out there. And the thing is that a lot of men have they put on their mask of being an adult man and growing up and being tough, handling their business. And when they meet a woman who sees through that, they crumble as well. So both sides of this, men and women, have room to grow. I mean, that's what I went through. And what I really got clearly for us men, I term it kind of the undeveloped and developed masculine and the undeveloped and developed feminine. And the masculine side, it's kind of the undeveloped is the macho or the man boy or the ego-driven, like selfish type male. And when a woman sees through that and she starts to ask for him to step into his masculine and he has no tools to get there, he panics. Because most men don't know, it's one of the best kept secrets in a way, is that woman's power is something to be worshipped. Woman's power in a feminine is basically the power of a tornado or a hurricane. And a man who's smart and wise in his heart as a masculine man can stand in its presence and not be destroyed by it. But most men who don't trust themselves run because they're afraid of being hurt or destroyed by it.
That also brings up a good, this is turning out to be a relationship talk. That also brings up the point of a lot of men are in their emotional immaturity. And so they use women as mommies instead of lovers and equal partners type of thing.
Yes. Unfortunately, that's true. I did that myself a couple of times. So I have personal experience of how much that sucked. It is something where, I mean, let me just say this. Having been in the personal growth industry, say, for 30 plus years, every single seminar I've been in and every spiritual community I've been in, and still am in, there are at least 60% women versus men. So one of the best kept secrets coming out is that men don't know about it, is that the best place to meet a lot of attractive, strong, wonderful women is in the personal growth industry. That's where they're all hanging out. But the thing is that, but most men, and this I'll speak to as another angle too, particularly for the straight white male, we straight white men have been presumed based upon by omission, there's nothing wrong with us, because all the minorities or the other people, so whether it's Hispanic or African American or female or gay, all of these subsets of humanity have been judged as being less than by the people in leadership, in quotes, which is a straight white male. So the straight white male goes, we're fine, nothing wrong with us, but we never look in the mirror. And so I was grateful that I fell into a seminar almost literally in '84, because I never would have chosen one otherwise. I was fine. But thankfully I discovered there was more to have. And not saying there's anything wrong with me, but I realized that I was missing a lot of skills, a lot of tools, and a lot of self-love that I could have had, which you know well about.
You know what's really interesting about the self-growth industry is literally it really is an education upon itself. It's like a university. We go here and there, and we take this class, and we take that class, and really the headmaster of it is ourself, as far as bringing us to each space that we need to be at a mature level. I love this industry because we can see how people are emotionally not mature, are struggling, have depression, a whole bunch of, the worldly beliefs that are out there. And when you get into your self-development work, now you grow incredibly, a huge amount. Now, there doesn't mean that people still are not going to struggle. I still have people contacting me from the self-development stuff that I did years ago, and they're contacting me for help, as of today. Now, I don't mean in this moment, I mean, recently.
Yes.
And I keep reminding them, and I think you would too, that they just need to relax and settle into. That's a question that I want to ask you. How would people settle into, in your opinion? I'm just understanding that it's a process that we go through and that it does take time to integrate into our psyche.
It's a journey, not an event. And for the men, particularly, I talked about this before, actually, about as a relationship contextual conversation, how why we men get lazy in relationships is because we as men are goal seekers. We basically look for a goal, we achieve it, then we relax. There's a book out by William Glasser called Mastery. It talks about this, that what we forget to do is enjoy the plateau once we've achieved a goal, because we know there's another one coming along. And the reality in life for us as men is that even subconsciously, we're always seeking the next thing to achieve. We want to challenge the relationship, because once we've got the relationship, we don't go looking for the next one, but we don't necessarily have a goal inside the relationship. That's a cue, by the way, ladies. Set up goals for your man, he'll stay more involved. That's a key, by the way. And so for us men, it is kind of a thing about, we got the goal, what do we do now? So there is an understanding that we need to actually embrace and almost flow through the journey afterwards, because the feminine is in the flow. That's part of the energy that women is women flow in the energetic of who they are. But for women also, there's not always any mile markers on their journey. So it's the other way around. We work on goals and mile markers and achievements. The feminine flows through all of that with grace, but doesn't necessarily have any awareness of like, oh, I've achieved this, I've achieved that, without knowing it, because you're in the flow. So we both have opportunities to learn from each other.
So, okay, next question. These goal markers that men have, what does that look like and what does that mean? Because, I have discovered in the last several months that I'm going to ask questions that I don't understand about the male mind and how they work. So I'm asking you, for all of us, please, what does that look like and what does that actually mean?
Okay, first of all, wise woman. A lot of women presume they know about men. We're actually not quite as simple as you think. So I'll give you that one. So what I mean by this, it was a download I had during one of my Facebook Lives. I realized that we can look like we're being lazy because we don't keep efforting, because we're not in the flow like the feminine is. We're always going, got the goal, okay, now put my feet up, have a beer, watch TV. When we do that energetically, especially in a relationship, when we meet somebody, we meet them and get involved with them, unless we have new goals, such as sleeping over one night, or moving in together, or getting engaged, or having a kid. All these different things are goals for us that we can focus on. When we're focused, we can stay participating. If we don't focus, we can start getting a bit wishy-washy. It's the challenge and the benefit of being masculine is we're extremely good at having a clear, single-focused view, going for the goal, let's get it done. If we don't have that, as I proved to myself badly over several relationships, I just have this amorphous energy. It doesn't go anywhere.
That's really interesting, and it does open up the expanded awareness of. I would never say that men are simple. I'll say you're little boys, but I would never say you're simple. I will say though that I've learned that we think totally different, and so we think totally different, and we interact and communicate totally different. So that's why this natural balance is very cool, because we do have several of you people on you people who are fabulous with relationships, because it's not about whether I'm going to find a new man to marry, that kind of thing, for a girl on this show watching it, but it is about how can I have a better relationship with any man that I meet. So that's why I wanted all these fabulous people talking. I think we have 4 other besides you, because you are also in that industry. Right. And I keep kicking your butt into this one because you're doing both, and it's great. It's great. Yeah. So it's literally about opening our awareness and growing forward, so that as a woman or as a man, we can commune together and understand each other, instead of having all the little tiny fights, because women are very, I don't know if it's goal-oriented or if we're just nagging. No, I'm kidding. But we too we too have goals that we want in our relationship from our mates. they're different than that kind of a goal. I mean, there are many women who are like, okay, I want to have a baby now, and I want to get married, and I want this, and I want that. But literally, they call it the honey-do list and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
So we have stuff that we want to have produced in a relationship. So we need to understand how to communicate with our mate and have it more smooth. And I've realized that the woman needs to take the stand if the man is not, meaning the woman needs to learn how to communicate and talk man talk, because, and it's not just grunts and groans. I wish it was that simple. Women do all the time, like in texting or communicating with someone, a guy, they always are talking about their stuff, right? They just go on and on. And I'm sure men's eyes just glass right over.
Sometimes you got to scroll back and say, what were we talking about before?
Yeah. It's so funny. So I'm thinking, okay, so unless they're not your best buddy, then keep some of that stuff away, which is
right.
which is very interesting. So you talk a lot about, and you want to help bring women forward into the feminine leadership. What does that look like in your mind's eye? What does that look and feel like for us? I mean, I know what I know what it, but I want to see, I want you to share with everybody. And of course, when you and I were talking about that before, I was like, this is cool stuff.
And it is, and in a way, I mean, it's not so much cutting edge as it's forward thinking. I've been using the term recently called feminine authority, because there's something about authority that puts in another level. And it's a blend of different things, which includes transparency and authenticity and heart-based and everything else. But it's also about women trusting their own inner authority from a place of confidence and also a place of calmness. Again, in the paradigm of the business world, women have been trained to act like men, copy the men, beat the men at their own game. Problem is, for a lot of women, that ends up burning out their adrenals and actually hurts their physicality, because they get toxins from trying to be like men but have the wrong energetic inside to do that with. So the business world needs to shift anyway. Women need to have a business world that fits the feminine mystique, the feminine energy, and the feminine goals, which is happening. There are many great feminine leaders out there who I love dearly because they're leading the way. There are not necessarily that many men like myself who are actually saying, let's do this, because we are still trained in our own way of doing things.
Right.
So for me, what I call feminine authority, feminine leadership, is really, it comes down to a few things. It's about inclusivity. It's about cooperation and collaboration that brings people together, because we men are good at doing things solo. We like run out and we get it done, then we realize we left everybody behind. Women don't do that when they're in their heart and they're feminine. They say, let's all go together and make it happen. So it's also about, it's different energetic. But it's also, the biggest part, I think, is women need to be reminded, because it's not teaching, it's a reminder, that when you're in your feminine gifts, your feminine heart, your feminine authority, you're actually stronger than ever you would be if you're trying to be like a man. Exactly. We men are strong what we do, but as you said, we communicate differently, we're wired differently. I mean, you go back to John Gray with Mars and Venus, he's been talking about this for a long time. But it's now, how do you articulate it into everyday life and everyday living? And so for women, my biggest invitation and request is connect back to your heart in the feminine place, which is a place of love, a place of compassion. It's also a place of immense power that you never knew you had. One of the analogies I've heard from one of my teachers is that the best way of carrying masculine and feminine energy is the feminine is the river, the masculine is the banks of the river. And so the feminine likes the masculine for structure and framework, but the feminine full force can destroy the banks.
So, before you said destroy the banks, I was thinking, what a lovely analogy, kind of sexy too. I mean, it's beautiful to think that the woman is the river and the man is the support of the banks.
Yeah.
And I have had that in a relationship that's just beautiful. So it is attainable. It literally, everybody, men and women, it is attainable to have that balance. But it does take an evolved man to be able to hold the containered space for a woman. Literally, you've got to do your work, guys, because we love you so much. We want you to join us.
The biggest thing, frankly, is we need to discover that it's okay to trust a woman who doesn't act anything like us.
That's right. And we're not your mamas, so think of us as your sisters or as your lovers or the beautiful women or whatever, but don't think of us as your mamas, because we ain't gonna mama yet. We'll kick your buns.
Please don't. That sucks. I've experienced that. It sucks.
Yeah, it does. And it disempowers a relationship for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So you have a free gift for everybody. You want to share it with us?
Certainly. My free gift is a conversation in a way. It's really what I call a discovery session, but it sounds so under labeled. It's really a deep dive talk to help you clarify where you are, where you want to get to, and how it can help you get there.
Nice.
It's that simple, yet it's also that deep and that rich. Mm-hmm. So it sounds very easy, but it's quite a space to hold. I love doing it.
Mm-hmm. I bet it's fantastic. That's wonderful. Great. So what else would you like to leave us with? There's got to be something that your heart is saying it wants to talk to us about before we go. What would you like to share with us?
Well, I also want to steal one of your ideas because I use it myself. I mean, it's a parallel one to what you do with the mirror work. But for me, a lot of the clients I'm working with now, especially the ones recently, which are actually international, which is kind of cool, is it seems they come back to the same place each time, which is they've forgotten how to love themselves. Mm-hmm. Because everything I want to have them to do, which is to forgive their challenges, to help them grow into their strength, it all comes from the source of love inside. Mm-hmm. And for many women, they're like, let's go get it done because they've learned, like the men do, just charge ahead and they're heart behind. Mm-hmm. So what I am inviting women to do who are watching this to take it on, and men too for that matter, is to do a mirror process, looking in the mirror and looking in your own eyes and feel into your own heart and connect to it. Because when you do that, women especially, you drop out of here, which you've been trained to live in like we do, mm-hmm. and you start dropping into your heart naturally. Mm-hmm. I was actually, this past weekend, I was at a, you'll come back to me in a moment, his name, I'm doing it, and his book as well. It will come back to me. Okay. Anyway, he did a process about that where he basically said, okay, a lot of people, and he did it for everybody in the room, is you put your hand on your heart, you breathe slowly, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, just to get yourself present. And then you think of any qualities that you can relate to, which could be gratitude, can be compassion, it could be caring, it could also be appreciation. Any of those things you can relate to, and then put your focus in that energy as you're breathing in, touching your heart. And it brings you into a depth of place and presence that is so powerful. For women, it's a great place to create from. If you do that every day, either in the mirror or internally, it'll change everything.
Beautiful. I love that. That's awesome. That's a great tool. Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us. It was really nice to have you, Barry.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show. I love it.
Absolutely. And thank you all. We'll see you in another episode of Natural Balance, where body, mind, and spirit connect.